Before I hand over to the Google guys, there were just 3 things that I wanted to say. One is thank you very much to the entire Google team. They've worked extremely hard in laying today on for us. Have put in a considerable amount of work, and we're really looking forward to what I know is going to be a very exciting day. So firstly, thank you very much in advance to Mark and all the Google team for that. Secondly, this day has kind of just reminded me, or made me think harder, I guess, about the fact that there has never been a more interesting time to be in media. So there's a number of us been in it for a long time. I can genuinely say that some of the stuff that's going on at the moment is really mind-blowing, really interesting, and just thick with opportunity for us. I think a lot of it actually takes us out of the old traditional media game. So I think a lot of what we're going to see and talk about today, some people wouldn't even actually define as media as such. It's more about understanding people's behaviour and how to influence people's behaviour. And I think that takes us as an organisation to a really interesting space. And it takes us as individuals into a very interesting space as well, because it's broad, open-ended, and as I say, thick with opportunity. I don't think there's anyone out there doing it particularly brilliantly well either, so it's a very, very good opportunity for us to gain leadership in this area. So I think there's never been a better time to be involved in media. Now, for us, my third point really is for us specifically as a company, as per a couple of notes I sent round, having launched the We Create the Space for Ideas proposition earlier in the year, and for most of us to have gone through pretty extensive training on that, we're all aware that that proposition, for that to really fly, it demands collaboration. It demands identifying the right sort of partners and working really intelligently with those partners. However much we'd like to pretend it, the days of pretending as an agency that you know everything and can do everything are gone. So the agencies that will win in the future will be those who collaborate most intelligently and identify the right people to collaborate with. So as per my note the other week, I don't think there could be a better partner to spend a day with than a partner like Google, a very forward-thinking, leading organisation. And if we get our partnership with Google right, I think we can help take each other into this kind of new space that I think is interesting for both of us. So those are my comments. Thanks very much for joining us this morning and throughout the day. Looking forward to a good day, and I shall hand over to Mark, who's Country Director for Google.
Very much. Hello. Thanks, Stuart. Mic working? Yeah. Well, thanks for turning up this morning, guys. It's a fantastic turnout. I didn't expect to see standing room only at the sides or the back. It's fantastic. The key themes of today, again, is, as Stuart says, it's about collaboration. Google is a very different media owner to those that you deal with in a traditional world, even in a digital world. And I think that's something that still needs to click with many agencies in as much that we can be disruptive, we can be different, we will have different ways of dealing with people. But actually what we want to do as a business is work at a pace that really keeps moving, keeps growing all the time. And to do that, we do want to collaborate. We do want to work with agencies and work in a three-way partnership with yourselves and your clients. And some of the messaging that always comes back to me is that Google, is difficult to do business with, is trying to get behind our backs and see the clients directly. It's simply not true. We want to work collaboratively with agencies, and that's why we've got this day today. Starcom's a really important media brand in the overall industry. With Google, it's actually still quite small. I think the recent win of More Than is going to start to change that, and actually today hopefully will be another stimulus to enable all of you to understand better what we stand for and how we think. So initially, so the format of the day is initially I'm going to give you a little bit of my opinions, which you may not all agree with. We've then got Mary Quiros, who's our Senior Product Vice President for Europe, who's actually, this is his last gig. He's going back to Mountain View after this, so we're very privileged to have him today. He's going to show you all the sexy stuff, the sexy products, and then through the day, the breakout sessions get into nuts and bolts of our business. And please, 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 I know you've got really good sign up already for the nuts and bolts sessions. Please turn up to those, because there'll be a lot more illuminating than just listening to me for half an hour. But today I want to challenge us to look at the marketing and media world through a digital lens. You know, media has changed not incrementally, but fundamentally and, you know, unrecognizably in just the last 5 years. 5 years ago, I was still being striped on TV deals by Lockheed and has had been for, you know, 10 more years before that. But at that time, I was sitting there happily ignorant of this emerging internet business, search business called Google. You know, it didn't really bother me, didn't come up in conversation. I had no idea what their business model was. I may have used it for search, I can't remember. But actually last year we celebrated our 10th birthday. I've been at Google 3.5 years now since being in TV. And it's quite interesting to see how Google has developed in those 10 years. Interesting thing about Google in those 10 years is that, you know, it's the pace of change that is important. Interestingly, as you may all know, the Google mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. In the first year when Larry Page and Sergey Brin set up Google and launched Google, they thought they were really capturing the internet when they were indexing 75 million URLs. Actually, by July of last year, we were capturing and indexing 1 trillion URLs, 1 trillion websites. Now, I'm not even sure what 1 trillion is. Is that 1,000 billion or 1 billion? I don't know, but it's a pretty big number. You know, on average, our loading time of a search page is 0.25 of a second. Often it's 0.15 of a second, and the target for the engineers, which is why we're constantly trying to move at a pace, the target for the engineers is 0.1 of a second. That's the blink of an eyelid. The blink of an eyelid is the target to ensure that's how fast we can turn a search page over and actually push our customers off our page onto the most relevant sites for our advertisers and our customers. You know, what can't be done from a Google point of view just hasn't been done before. And that's a sort of mantra that runs through the engineering community. I think we're all guilty of believing that the changes that have occurred as a result of digital, the internet, open source technology, mobile, are incremental, and they're not incremental. You know, If we think about our own media consumption, if we go back to the year when I first joined TV and I was first told to fuck off by Chris Locke as a brand new TV sales assistant, there was only one TV commercial, one commercial TV station, ITV. Very quickly following that, because I'm not immensely old, there was, and actually, so at that point, there was pretty much consumption. Our own media patterns were pretty much the same. There wasn't much difference. Channel 4 then came along, and soon after that, TV-AM, and there was fragmentation in television. Oh my God, 2 channels. And also, we thought, but if we then go back 10 years, Sky and multi-channel TV was starting to have an influence, starting to change things, as was the change in a number of proliferation of radio stations. But our personal media schedules were still pretty linear, pretty much the same, and could be planned pretty easily and accordingly. But yesterday, just yesterday, I doubt that anyone in this room had an identical or even vaguely similar media schedule, media pattern, personal media schedule. From the work you're doing going on online, on YouTube perhaps, social networks, using your Sky Plus box, even from traditional to free newspapers, to digital radio, to gaming. Your schedules would not have been the same. And therefore every consumer now has choices that makes them unique. Therefore media thinking in an orderly, linear fashion, which was fine back in the day, simply is not now. In a world which changes daily, the old tried and tested methodology of media planning and research, they're taking weeks or months to validate, just are no longer valid. Real-time targeting is a game changer for media owners, for agency planners, for advertisers. One of my concerns, which is why I love these sorts of days to preach and pass over my biased opinions, is that we now have a box in most media plans for digital, and we have a box for search. And we think it's ticked. And I just think we're kidding ourselves if we think it's ticked. If we think we know it all, if we think we're actually doing it correctly or really engaging. Old tools I don't think are good enough in the digital economy to follow the consumers who now have a big voice, who now have an important voice, and for us to understand what they're thinking and what they're doing in real time. It's human nature to look at the world by thinking of the present through the lens of the past. As can be seen by pinching some ideas I pinched from a speech Richard Eyre gave at a Google conference just last week, where if we look back, the locomotive was first called the Iron Horse. The car was the horseless carriage. We're still probably taping on our Sky Plus boxes, and we call our handheld computer MP3 player, sat-nav, calendar, address book, camera, recorder, and makes a couple of phone calls as well, a mobile phone. It's a device that's mobile for sure. It's not a phone. It's not just a phone. And if we try to make sense of the digital world through this old world narrative, this old world lens, then I think we're missing the point. Every 4 hours, Google indexes as much data as there is in the entire Library of Congress. We have web search in 100 languages, and we find that the web has grown up to 25% every time that we crawl it. Just think about it. Every blog that's going on, every uploaded YouTube video, it's changing the shape of the web, and we're trying to capture all of that. There are, in fact, 20 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every minute. And there are 200 million current Facebookers out there in the world and 4 million tweeters out there. In fact, mobile is the fastest global diffusion of any technology in human history. It took 20 years for the first billion mobiles to be sold. It took more than 4 years to get to the second. It took 2 years for the third. And in this last year, we've probably hit 4 billion mobiles out on the planet. Compare that to just the 1.6 billion computers are out there. Mobile, which is always coming next year, is going to be the big year. It is coming, and we'll talk about that later, certainly in Mario's session. And what's interestingly about the digital evolution and revolution, because it's not an evolution, it is a revolution, the UK is leading the way. We've now got 42 odd million, in fact it says 43 there, online, 95% of which are connected via broadband. And if Lord Carter has his way, we'll get even more of that over the course of the next few years. There are 4 billion search pages in May. There were 4 billion search pages in May 2009 on Google alone. 17 pence in every pound in the UK is spent on e-commerce. That's 3 times what it is in the US. We genuinely are leading the world in e-commerce. And online, as you all know, online revenues this year in advertising terms will be about 20% of all ad revenues. That's more than twice European or US counterparts. Digital and the internet is truly transforming consumer behaviour and is itself being transformed by consumer behaviour. Never before have marketeers, ad agencies, media owners had to embrace such change at such pace. More importantly, to better understand the needs, desires and habits of their consumers, as Stewart was saying in his intro. So with marketing and consumer budgets under huge pressure, certainly through this recession, how can digital thinking help us to do more with less? More with less, that's what you get asked every day by your clients, isn't it? What can you do more for me and I'm going to pay you less for it? So how can digital help that? I'm sure we've all seen the IPA and the McKinsey reports about investing in brands through a downturn, and those that do come through it stronger for it. But this recession is unprecedented. This recession, not only for its speed and severity of the slide, but for the extraordinary changes in the rise of consumer power. You only have to look at the rise of Twitter, what's happening in Iran right now, or the Obama campaign to understand that. But this is the first ever recession in history in a truly digital age. And that's something we must never underestimate. It is our belief, therefore, that real-time consumer planning and engagement is essential and that digital insights and tools can offer marketeers and agency thinkers real assistance. We observe that whether your business is mainly online or offline, using these technologies and these tools can prove a real advantage. I'd like, therefore, to suggest 4 themes to help pull this real-world planning into perspective. The first is the need for better digital insight, providing up-to-date views on behaviour of your consumer and your competitors, a range of tools that bring us agility, the ability to move, test, learn, and rapidly and cheaply. And by using these tools, bring efficiency to our media thinking, bring efficiency to our marketing plans, especially when integrated across platforms and other media. And together, if you pull these together, these should allow us to move at that pace, at a much faster pace that we've talked about, which is an essential ingredient to stay ahead and survive and prosper in this downturn. We believe it will be those companies that embrace this speed that will prosper in this recession. So firstly, if I could briefly look at the insight piece. Well, with consumers at the heart of our business, or the heart of your business, search acts like a barometer for change, a barometer for consumer behaviour, and offers up many new tools, which can ultimately help us understand the consumer and their behaviours within the marketplace. As author and journalist John Battelle calls Google, I don't know if you know John Battelle, he wrote a book about Google, he's run a number of books about the internet. He calls Google the database of intentions, where relative insights can be very illuminating. If we look at recent consumer spending, dramatic changes are taking place. At the end of last year, retail sales were moving down, up to 5% in the overall marketplace, where online they were up by 30-odd%. With a number of retailers continuing to grow in double-digit sales increases online. If you use our insights for search tools, we can see the consistent growth over the last, actually 3-4 years in searches for shopping. The volume of searches are increasing to a point whereby, actually overall retail sales grew 14% online in just April. A bit of a drop from pre-Christmas. But when you dig deeper, there's some interesting behavioural changes become obvious, especially in this last few months. If you compare the relative growth of the expression compare with shopping category averages, since the beginning of this year, search volumes for compare have risen dramatically. The insight is obviously the consumers are now willing to put in that much more effort in order to get the best deals available. Searches for discount vouchers are growing dramatically. In fact, they're now hotter than Britney Spears. And in the last 2 months alone, Britney is falling back because she's lip syncing and vouchers are that much more sexy. But if you compare, you know, the grocery, the decline in loyalty for within this recession, so you're seeing a decline in loyalty towards individual grocery stores as consumers offline, as consumers are shopping around. If you look at this inside for search of deals, both Marks and Spencer's and Tesco's took advantage of these deal vouchers. This is, you know, offer 10 quid for a meal for Marks and Spencer's and both Tesco's. They saw massive traffic increases and sales growth for these meal deals and footfalls into store. All of that insight really available on your desktops. Every one of you should have insights of search on your desktop. Click tab, have it there. Anytime you like, you can flick in, and we'll have a look at that live in a little minute. 49% of Europeans claim to have changed their mind about what brand they buy as a result of researching choices online. So the online search becomes a real barometer for what is happening out in the real economy. And it's no longer what you just say about your brands that counts. It's what the consumer is saying about your brands. You know, 30% of online consumers post or comment to a website, news group, or blog in a typical week. 20% of consumers online read a blog at least once a month. Industry blogs are a real growth area, you know, and real demonstrating this real-time engagement and personal opinion. But insights are worthless unless you can act on them. Even if you don't sell online, and this is important for many of the brands within Starcom MediaVest, even if you don't sell online, the internet can still be a huge, rapid and low-cost focus group. It's the biggest focus group in the world, in fact. Test messaging through search and other digital media before committing to expensive marketing, you know, it allows you to listen and learn in real time. I think that's a key learning I hope you take away from today. It's about listening and learning in real time. And given that 81% of web users enter the web using search as the vehicle, it's a pretty good place to start. So this is where I'm probably going to completely screw up because I'm going to go live online in a minute and it's bound to break down. But let's take a P&G brand by way of demonstration of what I'm talking about. If you go onto a typical search page from Google, put in, let's say, Pringles. You probably can't read what it says up there, but you know, there are 4 million results came up in, actually a bit slow, 0.26 of a second. But in that, it's talking about, you know, jumping and bonus points, you know, Pringles as chips. It's talking about potato chips, irresistible snacking, Marks and Spencer's up there for clothes, and news that actually it is a crisp. But if we go live, and you know, put in Pringles, we come back. Is it any faster? 0.19 of a second, so it's a bit faster today. You know, there's a whole range of insights that you can pull from the search page that you probably didn't know you could do. In fact, I didn't know we were doing this until just a few weeks ago. If you go onto the show options on your search page, there's a whole new opportunities for planners. You can look at, well, let's look at results for Pringles on videos. There's the TV commercials. I don't know if you've ever seen the Brad Pitt as a young lad in the Pringles ad. I'm not going to show it now because that's bound to crash. But you can go in and start to see the history of Pringles advertising. There's other stuff that Pringles have been doing from a video point of view that might give you some insights into the brand or what the consumers are looking for. You can look at, you know, really, you know, recent results. And it's talking about Pringles wind turbines. It's probably not the brand. But again, you know, you start to get insights into what's going on when people are looking for Pringles. But I think the most important thing, just to keep the debate going, is from a planning point of view, the Wonder Wheel. If you've gone onto show options and gone onto the Wonder Wheel option, I don't know, has anyone gone onto the Wonder Wheel option on search before? Did anyone in the room know it existed? No. Well, that's a bit worrying, isn't it? That's a bit worrying from our point of view that we're not necessarily promoting this to media planners and thinkers. So if you go onto the Wonder Wheel, basically it goes off and it literally sees what other links are there, what you know, it's almost like brand territory. If you're doing a brand plan, what's the territory around your brand? The Wonder Wheel starts to help you, you know, do that thinking. You can go on, there's many different things you could look at. What's that? Pringle Crisp. Other things that people are searching for, that looks a bit dull. There's, you know, actually Walkers. You know, Walkers comes up in all searches very highly. It's a big competitor, clearly. And, you know, it goes off to their comic relief stuff, PepsiCo, Cadbury's, all sorts of stuff in there. If you go back to Pringles, one I sort of like, if you go to franchise, Google Presents, Pringles cans. You know, Pringles cans, you know, there's Wikipedia about it. You know, there are many different things. And one down the bottom here, I looked at it yesterday, there's 7 awesome ways to reuse a Pringles can. You know, some artist somewhere in the US. But it's, you know, there's interesting ways, perhaps there's insights there you can gain about what the consumer's thinking about. But we'll come back to that thinking a little bit later. And within that showing options, I seem to have just lost it now by going too low, you can look back at timelines, you can look back at all the information that's been talked about Pringles going back to you know, 1900. You know, clearly it's not Pringles the crisp, but there's interesting insights to be had. Or so I think. Equally, there's insights beyond just search. Clearly, if you go onto Facebook, you go onto Twitter, you know, Pringles has nearly 3 million Facebook fans. And according to tweeters, you know, Pringles are the crisps of love and hope. I'm not sure I've seen that in any of its current advertising messaging. But another useful tool that planners might use coming through the internet is ukbrandtags.net. Does anyone use UK brand tags? Well, UK brand tags, again, you know, it's not a Google tool, but basically it's a site. If you go in, it asks you questions about some brands. You put in what you immediately think about those brands, and it feeds you back, again, this sort of brand territory. You know, the site brand tags compiles all these answers and produces a tag cloud, an instant visual illustration of how the brand is perceived by those people who are engaging with this brand tags. You know, the more times a word or phrase is entered or used, it appears larger in the cloud. So it's clearly got a bit of an American influence here, but Pringles, you know, in the brand tags cloud says it's chips, it's a can, you know, it's cardboard, it's crisp, it's crisps, it's crispy, it's crunchy. You know, there's a lot of, again, insights that are coming from digital that you might be able to use for all your brands. You know, using brand tags, it's www.ukbrandtags.net. I think it's pretty cool. If you dive into what consumers are really searching for using this Insights for Search tool, I'm hoping you've all played around with Insights for Search. I won't go online because it'll take too long, but it's quite cool when you do. Isn't it? You know, if you look at the current Insights Search, this is run just a couple of days ago, you can see that, you know, in this space, comparing Pringles to Doritos to Twiglets, over the last 12 months, looking at all their search activity, you know, Doritos, you know, actually Pringles was tracking along in the blue line ahead of the competition. But come April, you know, sort of April of this year, you know, Doritos massively overtook Pringles, and it's because it's a Spanish campaign for some reason, I don't know. But obviously a Doritos ad campaign that has driven massively the increase in searches for Doritos. And only actually when Pringles are crisps, the judges decide, does Pringles bounce back and overtake Doritos. So Insights for Search you can use for any brand. It gives you real-time access to what consumers are talking about. And to get a sort of feeling of the volume of people that are online, there's another tool called keyword tools, which again you can get on your browser, you can all look at it, and it just gives you can put in any brand name, any advertiser, and it gives you a flavour for actually what size of audience is out there. But again, it's not just the size of, you know, snack foods, it's not just the size of putting in Pringles or putting in crisps. You can start to look at the brand territory and build out the scale of the opportunity. You know, party food, there's 90,000 searches in May alone in the UK. You know, for snacks, it was only, you know, 5,000. So it's about building out your brand territory, building out the scale of the business and the people that you want to reach using tools that are readily available and exist online. Remembering, from my point of view, that every query that goes into a search box Every keyword represents a potential audience with a brand. Every keyword represents a potential audience with a brand, and that is that audience that is actively looking for your brand. It's not being pushed out to you, it's what you're pulling in. Ad Planner, another tool out there, use it, but on Pringles the sample size wasn't big enough. On Walker's, key player, there's number again, it shows you all of the sites that are available that we believe are, deliver against a certain audience. And just to go live on this one, if we look at Ad Planner, I've already put in a Pringles, just this morning, put in a Pringles media plan. And actually, if we just go in for, males and, male, it's already pre-populated, male, females, 18 to 24, 18 to 34. It tells me, all the right sort of sites, the size of those sites. There's 14 million unique users, 31% of the country reach, 36 billion in page views are possible from just going for male, female of that demographic. But actually, if I wanted to more tightly target, let's say I put in mums, just go for mums. It changes in real time the shape of the site, the shape of your plan, and clearly it's significantly lower just targeting mums, but it's giving you a range of sites and a range of opportunities. And then if you go into more detail, which is what you do, I won't do it, but going back to this chart, you then click onto any one particular site or demographic, and it can give you really detailed information about what's happening on a country basis, what's happening by demographic, by age group, by income, and the scale of unique visitors. It's a fascinating site that I think is probably one of the most effective in the marketplace today. And what about video content? Well, if you put in Pringles into YouTube, there are, again, 8,000 odd videos about Pringles. Whether that's about Pringles crisps, I don't know, but there's 8,700 videos on YouTube about Pringles. There's not one of those 8,700 videos were actually uploaded by Pringles themselves. It's all user-generated material. So the consumer is having an opinion, the consumer is loading up, but the brands have got to engage. You've got to engage, and you've got to utilize this technology to have that dialogue, have that conversation with the consumer. And I'm not quite sure where we've pulled this one out, but let's literally, basically, it's a Pringles TV ads from the 90s. How dull is that? People want to watch, do they pop it, ads on YouTube? They'll watch anything, but you need to have a dialogue. You need to control that dialogue. You need to be utilizing the engagement yourselves. So just to summarize, the tools that are freely available by Google, and there's many, many more, Insights for Search should be on their desktops. Keyword Volume Tool should be on all your desktops, whether you're in digital, whether you're in search, or whatever you're planning. It's an insight into what the consumer's doing on any one of your brands. Blog Search gives you a real idea of what dialogue's going on. Ad Planner, again, just gives you the scale of digital sites that are available and the reach and frequency that you can achieve. And if you're using YouTube, there's another whole planning set of tools that show you breakdown by demographic, show you breakdown by country, show you breakdown by age, sex, class, and the types of videos that people are watching. The tools are out there, and that's the whole point of this is my tease session for the breakout sessions today. More details about this if you want to see them later on. And if you just want to keep in touch with what we're saying at Google, the Google Barometer blog is out there, updated pretty much weekly or fortnightly, and that gives you insights that come in. Set it up as an RSS feed, get that insight, just gives you more information. If you don't want it, no problems, but there's insights there, it's freely available, and I think incredibly easy to use. Because we are in tough times. As I said advertisers want more for less. We all want more for less. Your management want more from you for less. And digital marketing in itself tends to be a really cost-effective, targeted, measurable medium that gets results. But digital marketing works best and works best when integrated with other media and enables you to get more out of other media. What we know is that 67% of consumers are driven to search by an offline channel. And if you've seen the ThinkBox research, you know, David Brennan would now say of ThinkBox would now describe TV as a point of sale mechanism and a point of sale medium, because so many people are online and on TV at the same time, and that TV and online together, you know, increases the likelihood of a purchase by some 50%. But unfortunately, there is still a significant proportion of marketeers who are not doing this. They're not engaging this integration, the integration that you guys should live and breathe. You know, and a lot of that reason, you know, 45% in a recent iProspect survey said they weren't. And the reason they weren't is because of silos within the marketeers, marketing departments within clients. You come across that, I'm sure, you know, very often. But also silos within agencies, silos within media agencies, the big networked agencies. There's silos, not always integrated. The planners, the digital teams, the offline media teams, not necessarily communicating as well as you should do. And then there's silos where search or digital is handled by an SEM or a digital agency, and not even within your own agency. So therefore, clearly, you have your own best interests at heart, albeit clearly you should have your clients' interests at heart as well. So integration is absolutely key. It's a key tool, you know, to get real successful media planning. Just ticking the box, as I said earlier, you know, I don't think is good enough. You know, we've seen a number of recent studies that really show the value add of search to offline media. And I'm not going to go into detail about these because, you know, it's just too boring. But the fact of the matter is, on both a Flora campaign we ran and a Ford campaign we ran, the search complements the all media and really drives efficiency by a multiple, a massive efficiency drive for the overall media budget. And a lot of that efficiency is defined in these surveys as the effect of media per pound spent in shifting top of mind awareness. Now, you'll say, oh, search is just an ROI mechanism. It's not there for branding. It's not for, it doesn't shift top of mind awareness, but actually it does. You know, judgmentally, it's because, you know, top ranking impressions, you know, have a significant effect on brand awareness. And in other surveys we've done, 70% of consumers expect leading brands to be at the top of the search page. Consumers expect them to be at the top of the page. And actually, if the leading brands aren't at the top of the search page, they're inclined to think they're inclined to think less of those brands if they don't see them there. But efficiency is not just about the quality of the media mix. Something I've been talking to Stewart and team about, you know, at length recently is that you can drive as much traffic as you like from sites, from offline media, from search into the website. But if your site sucks, then it's wasted effort. 60% of online shopping carts are still abandoned at or before checkout online. That's a shocker. If you were in Tesco's and you were the store manager of Tesco's, you'd be sacked if that was the case. But we allow it to happen in online, and we allow it to happen because, you know, we allow the advertisers to get carried away with themselves. The advertiser gets carried away, and on that checkout page, you know, there's not enough detail about delivery dates. Delivery dates aren't accurate, or there's a charge for it. You know, there's so many things. They ask for your mother's maiden name, or you have to register for something. When you're ready to buy, at that point of purchase, just take the money. So the art of therefore converting websites is really important, more important than ever. And people are becoming less tolerant of bad experience, which is leading to poor perception of the brand offline. In fact, there's now many tools to allow conversions to increase. And we've got a load of tools, free tools, to allow simple A/B and multivariate testing of that web page, of the landing pages and of your checkout pages to improve conversion of the business. And as I said earlier, I believe this is an area for your business, a real area for your business to understand the econometrics of a site and really drive conversions going forward. As I said earlier, you know, we believe the fastest will thrive. So, you know, you've got to be in that space, because there are many, many companies out there, I assure you, who are getting into that space. But the fastest will survive. You know, you've got to look before you leap into some of these things, but you have to leap. You've just got to get into it. you know, and ultimately if that does involve a bit of risk or a bit of investment ahead of the curve, you've got to do it. And just to show and to finally show really how that can, you know, how that can be demonstrated in real time, then you've only got to look at the Obama electoral campaign of the last few months. You know, it simply couldn't have run 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. They used online to hit grassroots customers and open a conversation, you know, and extending his reach and his personality into the market. Of the sites they ran for the Obama campaign, they had 8.5 million monthly visits. They had 40,000 blog posts. They built up 35,000 volunteer groups and created 20,000 offline events. There were 2,000 campaign-generated YouTube videos with 80 million views. 2,000 campaign-generated YouTube videos. There were 442,000 user-generated videos on YouTube during the Obama campaign, all of which were then, you know, encapsulated by the Obama campaign and used to feed back his views, his opinions, good and bad. Many of the blogs, many of the videos were, you know, were derogatory, but he responded to them and then built out this franchise of personality that clearly had a very positive outcome. You know, there were risks that it had its risks, but their position was to, and their view was to use technology to engage and empower the consumer, the audience, you know, becoming much more authentic and allowing him to be more authentic. We've seen Gordon Brown try and do it on YouTube. Doesn't come out quite the same as President Obama. It worked for him. It could work for many of your brands. So just a few takeaways from me to warm up for the rest of the day. You know, I think we mustn't look at the present through the lens of the past. We've got to draw a line in what happened yesteryear, even yesterday. We've got to think in the present tense through a digital lens. You know, recession combined with this digital, you know, is change with a capital C. You know, it is absolutely fundamental and it's not incremental. Digital tools are out there. You know, they are offer real-time insight and allow you to have this dialogue with fully integrated media. You've got to listen to what they want. You've got to do it when they want it, and you've got to react very quickly. And you've got to look before you leap, but you really must leap, and you've got to do it at a pace. So I'll say thank you, but just as a tease to leading into our product demonstration and my introduction to Mario, I'll leave you with one little beta test that we have going on Google right now. How many of you have heard of Google Goggles? Oh, there are a few of you. Fantastic. Well, Google Goggles basically is, you know, how many of you have been at a leaving do, an award ceremony, you know, just out for a drink with your mates on a Thursday, Friday night, got absolutely smashed. You get home or in the cab on your BlackBerry, you get home and you've just won an award, especially, you know, in the media world, you just won an award. So you get home, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you think it's a great time to send an email to Stewart asking for a pay rise. Probably not the best time, actually. Or it's a great time in the back of that cab to tell, you know, you've just had a great night out with the lads and you want to tell your girlfriend how much you love her. Or the other way around. Probably not going to be a girlfriend for much longer if you do that. Well, Google's there to help. Google Goggles. Basically, it's a blockage system. Basically, if you sign on to Google Goggles, only activates after 11 o'clock at night on a Friday and Saturday initially, but you can change that. And it asks you a very complicated maths question, or you know, before it allows you to send that email. But for me, thanks very much. Enjoy the day. Please make use of all of the breakout sessions. Thank you.